Disclaimer, do not try this ever. This is dangerous and could cause serious injury or death. This is your warning, and by no means is American Piddler or its affiliates responsible for your actions. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. First off, I want to say thanks to everybody who liked and subscribed to our very first episode. This is our second episode of American Piddler. I'm Ezra, your host, and we're going to get started. We're going to put our wool inside this forge here, and we'll put the refractory cement in it and get going. I'll bring you guys in a little closer. I've heard your critiques, and we'll try to make this episode a little better than the last. We'll keep doing that. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. If you would, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it so other people can enjoy it too. Again, God bless you.
All right, guys, here we're just opening our box of ceramic wool. We'll get it out, get it set up. This is the first time I'd ever seen it, just like you. Roll it out a little bit. We got 2-inch ceramic wool. It's 2 inches thick. So I need both ends of the forge. Just lay it down here and draw it out with a Sharpie. By the way, this stuff's pretty nasty. I end up putting some gloves on and a mask very shortly before too long because I just can't fool with it. And you shouldn't anyway. It's pretty nasty stuff. So we just cut these out, and once we get it cut out, we'll lay it. This is what the back portion, and if you look there, you'll see that I have nails in there, and the nails just give the wool a little something extra to hold on to. And also they'll push through just enough that the cement that we use in a little while actually give it something to hold on to. Here you can actually see where the nails are poking through. We're going to flip it over and cut out the opening here, lay it face up, and just run my blade out a little further so that I can get in there and get it all cut out. Find something to sit underneath it to hold it up, and makes it a little easier to cut it here. So now as we get this cut out, we're just working with the wool, trying to see what works best, and this razor knife seemed to do the job quite nicely. Left a nice clean edge and made it fairly easy to get through and cut, and you'll see it came out pretty clean there. Now we'll set the front end aside and we'll grab the rest of the body of the forge, and you can see the nails there, and I'll place the wool that we cut for the back side. I'll get it placed in here and squared away, and we'll also cut that out. I guess this is actually the front side. I've been lying to you, but find us something to set it on here and do the same thing. Leave our blade extra long so that we can cut through this, and it really does make pretty nice easy work of it, and I was thoroughly happy with how clean the cut was once we were done. So here I'll measure it to find out the depth, and it turns out that it was 8 inches there to where we cut, and I use this body measure or whatever you call it to get the circumference here that we needed, and go lay our wool out and cut it the way that we need it. I'll square it up here with the straight edge of the level and cut my 8-inch piece so that we can get it laid into the forge, and you'll see that in a minute. By the way, I need feedback from you guys. What are we going to do with this forge? Are we going to make some kind of knife, maybe with a railroad spike or something? Which I know railroad spikes aren't exactly the greatest for a high carbon, edge retention knife, but maybe we can come up with something, a piece of leaf spring, something like that. I'm thinking a pair of tongs from rebar is a good first blacksmithing project. You guys leave them comments down below and let me know what your ideas are for American Piddler. I mean, that's kind of what I'm here for. We're just laying our wool in, getting it all placed in, seeing how it fits. I got a little extra, so I'll cut it out. I cut the hole for where the burner comes into it. You can see it's starting to shape up pretty nice. The only thing I think I would do different here is I used 2-inch wool, or I bought 2-inch wool, and I know a lot of people use 1-inch wool, and I think if I were to do it again, I would use 1-inch wool, and it would make it to where I could lay one layer in at a time. But you'll see that we got it in there, and I packed it in real well so that we could get our fire brick in. We take the fire brick and I took it level to the front, so we had a nice level surface to pour our refractory cement in.
All right, I think we'll start mixing up refractory cement, and man, we're getting close. I'm excited.
So here I'm just test fitting everything, and again I use the fire brick not so much for its great insulation properties, but I thought it'd be nice to give me a nice solid base to put the refractory cement over. And so here we're just lining things back up, making sure, checking the fit, and I'm going to go ahead and tack weld the back on. I decided not to hinge the forge because I really didn't see where I would be opening and closing it a whole lot for the uses that I have, and I know a lot of folks do hinge them, and I know a lot of folks that don't. So for me, I didn't see a hinge being really necessary, and so I didn't put one in. Here I'm having a little trouble getting it back together, but where I had a tack before, so I ground that back off and get back to work here on tacking it back together and just checking the fitment overall. And that's kind of the idea here, was to get it squared back up. And when I cut this, I marked it with permanent marker, and you can see the black lines that are in different angles, and that's so that I knew exactly where it would go back together at. I'm having a little trouble getting it to tighten back up. I don't know if I've got, a spot weld that I'd had on there previous in the way or what. So I put a strap on it, and that did the trick. It pulled it right together, and so we finished tacking it up here, and then we can start adding our refractory. All right, here we are looking down the front of the forge. You can see that we got the fire brick in there leveled off, and here's a back view of the fire brick sitting on the shelf in the back that we can use to close it off. Now, I'm going to need a like button pushed right here, maybe even a subscribe and a comment, because it gets pretty funny. I struggle awfully hard to get this bucket open, so much so that I've got a hammer, pry bar, crowbar. Finally, I just break down and get the saws all out. Figure I'm going to use most of it anyway, and I did. And so yeah, it got so bad, and I got so irritated that the power tools come out. Here we go. So here we'll start mixing up our refractory cement. Again, I've been told that this refractory cement isn't the best cement to use for this, and that it may not hold up at temperature. I have brought the forge up to temperature at this point, and it seemed to do okay. But again, I'll update as time goes by to see how well it holds up. So we're just mixing up our cement here real well. I'm just doing it by hand. Probably by drill or other way would have been a little better to get it mixed up. But as we get it mixed, I'll start applying it to the inside of the forge. Here we're adding the refractory cement to the bottom, getting that fire brick held in place with the cement. And in between each side or layer, so to speak, I let it cure a little bit each time to kind of keep it in place so that it wouldn't be too runny. And also, I'll show you a clip in a minute where we have the torch on, but the burner itself is on, but it's outside of the forge, and it's just blowing enough heat in it to help kind of barely set that concrete up, just to hold it in place so that we can flip it around and turn it on its side and put that layer in, turn it to the other side, put that layer in. It's kind of a trick that I used to get the cement set up enough to keep going to the next layer. And when you do that, you don't want to allow the heat to get too high. If it begins to boil that water in the cement, it'll blister and pop and crack, and you'll have one big mess. And so here's that shot of the burner backed way off, pointed towards the forge. And again, here it is with the forge completely upside down, and we got a fire brick in there, but again, I let it set up enough to hold it in place. From this point, once I had the complete inside lined, you got to give it time to cure, and so what better way to do that than in the wife's oven? I wouldn't recommend this if your wife was home, but you know, I set the oven to 500 and left the forge in there, and then she got home and asked what the funny smell was. Here it is after it's set in the fire, and now what we do is we slowly start to heat the forge, and each time we do this, we turn the burner up just a little bit, but you let it cool completely back down. And again, we turn it up a little bit and shut it off and let it cool completely back down. And this took me a couple days to do this because I didn't have the time to sit around and let that cool back down each time. But we do this until we get a little hotter, until we can get it full bore. And so here it is where we bring it all the way up to full temperatures. And guys, we have built ourselves a DIY how to build a forge. If you guys got any questions, leave me a comment. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Next week on American Piddler, we'll have a how to build the burner video.
Hey guys, we built our forge, and so next week I'm going to do a how-to video on how to do the burner. Hit that like button, subscribe, and meet me back here next week. We'll teach you how to build the burner, and you guys can put it all together and have your own forge. I've also got a couple other projects lined up here. I got a old hand crank grinder I think we're going to try and restore that I picked up at a yard sale. I've also got an old David Bradley chainsaw. We'll see if we can't get this old pig fired up, maybe clean it up and restore it the best that I can. Again, I can't thank you guys enough for hitting that like button, subscribing, especially if you made it this far in the video. God bless you. Thanks for watching.